Have you ever felt deep in your soul that something about you doesn't belong to this world? Something unexplainable that has followed you since you were a child, like a hidden whisper from God, long before you were even born. That quiet ache, that sense of not fitting in, of looking around and feeling unseen, it's not your imagination. It's spiritual, it's prophetic, it's divine alignment. Not everyone was created the same. Some were chosen, set apart, marked by God from the womb. And no, this isn't mystical fluff or some motivational cliché. This is scripture. This is spiritual truth. This is the reason you're still breathing today. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Let that settle in. Before your first breath, before your first heartbeat, He knew your name. He designed your pain. He allowed your isolation. Not to break you, but to build you for something only you could carry. Then came childhood, a season that should have been safe, soft and simple. But for you, it was different. You cried deeper than others. You asked questions no one could answer. You saw things, felt things, sensed things you couldn't explain. There were moments you felt watched, protected, or completely alone. The truth is, children with spiritual callings often walk through early suffering. Not because they are cursed, but because the enemy tries to destroy what he fears. You were not rejected by accident. You weren't misunderstood without purpose. You were born with a voice that could shift generations, and that made you dangerous from day one. And maybe no one told you this growing up. Maybe prayer wasn't spoken in your home. Maybe God felt distant or silent, but that doesn't mean He wasn't there. In fact, He was closer than ever, watching, shaping, waiting, letting life bend you, but never letting it break you. That dream you had as a kid where light filled your room, that wasn't random. That urge to pray, even when no one taught you how, that was your spirit remembering heaven. That deep empathy you carried, that wasn't weakness, that was divine sensitivity. That was the gift of discernment stirring before you even had words for it. And now, you're here, watching this, feeling something move inside you. Not because of this video, but because God is calling you again. Maybe for the first time in years. Maybe louder than ever before. This is not entertainment. This is alignment. This is a spiritual awakening happening inside your chest right now. Your childhood wasn't random. It was prophecy in disguise. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not late. You were chosen. And the signs have always been there, waiting to be seen. But now that your eyes are open, everything is about to change. But now that your eyes are open, everything is about to change. And listen, this isn't just about information. This is about transformation. This space, this moment, this very video, it's not just content. It's a spiritual appointment. If something in your spirit is stirring right now, don't ignore it. There's a reason this found you today. God is not calling crowds. He's calling individuals. And you are one of them. And right here, right now, I want to do something sacred. I want to pray for you. This is more than a channel. This is a sanctuary for the chosen, a digital altar for the rejected, the broken, the awakened. And if you're carrying burdens, wounds, or silent battles that no one sees, leave your prayer request in the comments. Write it, say it, type it out with your own hands, because when you give your pain a voice, heaven answers. We read every name, we respond. And yes, we pray, and for each person, each request, each soul passing through this space. No request is too small, no struggle is too dark, no childhood pain is too old to be healed. You are not invisible here, and you are not alone anymore. If this message spoke to you, if something inside you is burning right now, I want you to do 3 things. Like this video, not just for the algorithm, but as a public declaration. I receive this word. I am not the same. Subscribe to this channel, because this is just the beginning. We are building a global family of chosen ones, warriors, prophets, misfits. And if you feel something calling you deeper, this is your place. And finally, leave your prayer request below. Tell us what you're carrying. Let this be the first time you don't carry it alone. We're here. We're listening. And most importantly, He's listening. This is your sign. This is your moment. This is your home. Now, breathe. Because what comes next will shake everything you thought you knew about being chosen. Imagine the scene. A baby is being born. The room is full of people. There are smiles, tears, expectation. But in the invisible realm, beyond human eyes, something entirely different is happening. This is not just a birth, it is a battle, because that soul, small and helpless to the natural world, is already carrying a mark that heaven recognizes and hell fears. Before taking a single breath, that child has already been seen, set apart, chosen. The world hears a cry, but in the spirit realm, it is a war cry, a sound from a soul that already remembers what the mind cannot explain. From the earliest days, that child begins to show signs, not signs the adults understand, not symptoms to be diagnosed, but spiritual signals, an uneasiness with the world, a strange connection to something greater, a weight that doesn't have a name but never seems to leave. While other kids play, this child observes. While others run, this child questions. They feel everything more intensely, the pain of others, the absence of presence, the silence in crowded rooms. They cry when no one expects them to. They ask questions no one wants to answer. From a young age, the world whispers back, "You don't belong here." And it's true, they don't. The word says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." That isn't just a verse for a Sunday morning message. It's a prophetic declaration, a spiritual truth for those born not just into families, but into divine assignments, for those whose lives were ordained before time and formed by hands not of this world. And if you feel something shifting in your chest right now, if something deep inside is responding to this, it's because that word is about you too. Many of the chosen walked through childhoods marked by pain, by rejection, by abandonment, not because they were weak or broken, but because their existence disrupted darkness. Light always disturbs what is hidden in the shadows, and destiny always draws warfare. These people were told they were too different, too sensitive, too intense, too much. But in reality, they were simply spiritually awake in a world still asleep. Maybe you remember moments where it felt like something unseen was watching over you. Maybe someone told you that as a baby, you used to stare into corners and smile, or scream without reason. That is not rare among the chosen, because the spiritual world does not wait for adulthood. The calling begins early, so does the war. And if you survived your childhood, with all its confusion, pain, and emotional weight, it's because there's something inside of you that the world still needs to see. God does not hide the chosen out of fear. He hides them with strategy. You were not forgotten. You were protected. And now you're being activated. Everything you've lived through has shaped you. The silence, the loneliness, the unexplainable questions, none of it was wasted. Every moment was preparation. And now, the pieces that never made sense are starting to come together. The pain begins to feel like a message. The rejection starts to look like confirmation. What you once called bad luck was actually the evidence of your mark. The fingerprints of God were on you the whole time, and I know right now your chest is tight, your eyes are burning. Maybe memories are surfacing, things you tried to forget, times you felt invisible, lost, maybe even cursed. But now you see, you were always seen, and not just by anyone, by the one who formed you. So hear me. Don't keep this locked inside. That ache you've carried for years, that something is wrong with me feeling, it's time to put words to it. Because when you give your pain a voice, heaven moves, healing begins. And if you're here right now reading these words, it's not random, it's divine. There's something in your spirit whispering, "This message is for me." If that's you, comment below right now. I've always felt different. You don't have to say more unless you want to, but speak it. We read every word, we pray over every name. You are not alone. You never were. And maybe the reason everything is starting to make sense right now is because you're finally seeing the signs for what they were. Not random events, not coincidences, but spiritual evidence. Proof, markers in your life that were trying to whisper something sacred, even when no one around you had the ears to hear. When you're chosen, life starts speaking in codes, and those codes often start showing up in childhood. Quiet, subtle, but persistent. They were always there. You just needed the language to recognize them. Let's start with your heart. Since you were little, you carried a sensitivity that others didn't understand. You felt pain you couldn't explain. You cried for people you'd never met. You absorbed emotions like a sponge. People called you dramatic, overly emotional. But what they didn't realize is that you were spiritually open. You didn't just see, you felt. You weren't reacting to the physical. You were responding to the spiritual. That was never weakness. It was the first sign. Then there were the dreams. Do you remember them? Dreams that didn't feel like dreams. Dreams where you were flying, running, being chased, standing in light or being pulled by shadows. You woke up confused, sometimes afraid, sometimes with tears drying on your face. What no one told you was that many chosen ones begin receiving messages from God through dreams at an early age. Not every dream was spiritual, but some were. And your soul knew the difference. And what about that unshakable feeling that you were never truly alone? Even in empty rooms, even in silence, something or someone felt present, watching, covering, guiding. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't your imagination. It was awareness, spiritual presence, a knowing that your steps were never really yours alone, that you were born under a gaze much higher than anything on this earth. And then came the isolation. Not the kind you chose, the kind that chose you. You didn't always fit in, not with the kids at school, not in group settings. There was always a sense that you were standing just a little outside of everything. People gravitated to you but didn't always stay. Or worse, they never saw you at all. You were too quiet, too deep, too intense. But maybe you weren't any of those things. Maybe you were just spiritually out of sync with a system that was never designed for the kind of soul you carry. There was also that rebellious energy in you. Not destructive, not disobedient for the sake of it, but an inner defiance. A voice inside that questioned rules, institutions, expectations. Even when you couldn't explain why, you pushed back. Not because you were trying to cause trouble, but because your soul was allergic to anything fake, anything controlling, anything that silenced your truth. You weren't unruly, you were awake. And while other kids were fascinated by toys, games, cartoons, you were drawn to something else. You thought about life, about God, about death, about where we go when we leave here. You stared at the sky and felt something staring back. You asked questions that stopped adults in their tracks. Not because you were trying to be smart, but because something in you needed to understand the invisible, the spiritual, the eternal. And even if you never said it out loud, deep down, you always knew something about you was different. There was a fire in you that never went out, a hunger you couldn't explain, a pull towards something greater, something sacred, something that called your name, not with sound, but with silence. And for all those years, you thought you were just weird, broken, sensitive, isolated, misunderstood. But what if that was never the truth? What if every flaw was actually a signal? What if every struggle was really a clue? You were not strange. You were set apart. You were marked. You were chosen. And the signs were never coincidence. They were your confirmation. We don't always recognize divine fingerprints when they're on us, especially not when we're young. But now you know how to see them. If any part of this feels like your story, like someone just opened your diary and read it out loud, leave a comment right now and write, "That was me." You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to make it poetic. Just speak it. Release it. That comment may be your first act of spiritual agreement. And if you feel led, share the sign that hit you hardest. I read every word, and yes, I pray for every soul that lands on this message. And if the signs were never a coincidence, then neither was the pain. That's the part no one talks about. Because once you realize you were chosen, the next question rises like smoke from your past. Then why did I suffer so much? Why the silence? Why the rejection? Why the rooms that felt cold even when they were full of people? Why the abuse, the neglect, the nights crying without reason, the feeling that your soul didn't belong here? Why was life so heavy so soon? The answer is not easy, but it is sacred. Chosen ones suffer not because they are weak, but because they carry light. And light, even as a flicker, threatens every system built in darkness. You were never the problem. You were the warning, a voice the world feared before you even learned how to speak. The system sensed your power long before you understood it, and so the attacks came early, not just physical, but emotional, spiritual, generational. The world tried to condition you into silence, into doubt, into forgetting who you are. But that didn't work, did it? Yes, the pain was real. You were rejected when you were only looking for connection. You were abused when all you wanted was love. You were humiliated when you dared to speak your truth. You were ignored when your soul needed to be seen the most. These were not random wounds, they were surgical strikes, strategic warfare designed to make you question your worth so deeply that you would never step into your calling. But somehow, despite it all, you're still here, you're still standing. And that is the most dangerous thing of all to the enemy. A chosen one who survives. A soul that has walked through hell and come out still seeking God. That's not weakness. That's prophetic resilience. That's divine identity that cannot be erased. It's the evidence that something inside you is greater than anything that's ever come against you. You didn't just go through pain, you were forged in it. Chosen ones don't get the luxury of easy lives because the weight of their calling requires the depth of their pain. Your suffering created capacity for discernment, for empathy, for wisdom, for leadership. That heartbreak you thought would destroy you, it became the foundation of your compassion. That abandonment that nearly killed your hope, it made you unshakable. That silence you hated, it taught you how to hear God in ways most people never will. You see, God never wastes pain. He repurposes it, and He never exposes the chosen too early. He protects them, not out of fear, but out of preparation. He hides them in plain sight until the fire inside is unquenchable, until the voice is undeniable, until the wounds become weapons of healing. That's why it hurt. That's why it was so heavy, because He knew what you were carrying, and He knew who you would become, and deep down, so did you. Somewhere beneath the scars, you always knew that your story couldn't end in silence, that your tears weren't wasted, that your spirit, even in its breaking, was being shaped for something eternal. And maybe you didn't have the words for it until now, but maybe this moment, this message, is unlocking something in you that you thought was lost. Because pain for the chosen is not the end, it's the initiation, the sacred rite that says, you are ready now. And if your heart is pounding as you hear this, if your chest is tight, if your eyes are watering and your soul is whispering, this is my truth, then say it out loud. Break the silence once and for all. Go to the comments and write, now I understand everything. And if you're still not ready to share your story, just type that one sentence. It will speak for you. It will heal someone else. It might even start healing you. What if I told you that you didn't find this video? This video found you. And not just by chance, not by some algorithm or coincidence, but because something in the spiritual realm shifted. Because the time on your life's clock just hit now. Because heaven decided that the silence had gone on long enough. This is not entertainment. This is an announcement, a holy interruption. The alarm has been sounding in your spirit for a long time, and maybe you've ignored it, silenced it, tried to explain it away, but now you can't. Something in you is responding, not to me, but to what's coming through me. The call, the same call that's awakening thousands of chosen ones all over the earth right now. It's happening everywhere, quietly, powerfully. Souls that have been asleep for decades are suddenly waking up. People who thought they were broken are realizing they were never broken. They were buried, hidden, preserved, and now they're being summoned, just like you are, because the world is changing, and heaven is moving, and the chosen can't stay hidden anymore. The time of hiding is over. This is the moment of revealing, and I know it feels like a lot, like everything inside you is shifting, like your past is colliding with your present and demanding to be reinterpreted. That's not just emotion, that's alignment. It's what happens when purpose reintroduces itself to a soul that forgot who it was. You are not just remembering, you are reawakening. Every painful moment, every lonely night, every unanswered question, it all led here. It was all part of this. And now the voice inside you that was once faint is becoming undeniable. The voice that always whispered, "There's more," is now shouting. And what it's saying is simple. It's time. This is your moment of activation. Not tomorrow, not next month. Now, heaven isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for permission. Permission to move through you, to awaken you fully, to release everything that's been sleeping inside of you. That fire, that hunger, that ache that won't go away, that's God knocking. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Because when you were created, He didn't just give you life. He gave you an assignment, a purpose that could not begin until now. You had to walk through the pain. You had to learn through the silence. You had to survive the war, and now that you have and you are ready, you've always known you were different. You've always sensed something greater, but you pushed it down. Life made you busy. Trauma made you cautious. Disappointment made you numb. But through all of it, the call never stopped. And now it's louder than ever. Look around. Everything is accelerating. The world is shaking. Systems are crumbling. And in the middle of it all, the chosen are rising. You are part of that. Your voice matters, your obedience matters, your story matters. This isn't just about healing your past, it's about activating your future. You weren't just rescued, you were recruited. Every chosen one reaches this moment, the moment where the pain no longer controls them, because purpose steps in and takes over, where the questions stop hurting, because the answers start to speak. and where the fear begins to fade, because the fire becomes impossible to ignore. This is that moment for you, right here, right now. So don't minimize this. Don't scroll past it. Don't second guess it. Something ancient inside you is rising. You feel it in your chest. You hear it in your spirit. You recognize it even if you can't explain it. That's how God works. He doesn't always shout. Sometimes he whispers just loud enough for your spirit to hear him. And today, you heard him. If this resonates with you, if this moment feels like a mirror being held up to your soul, then declare it in the comments right now. Write the words, "I'm being called." Say it with your own hands. Let heaven see it. Let your soul agree with it. You don't need a stage to awaken, you just need a yes. And if all of this stirred something deep inside you, if it felt like your soul was crying out between every line, then listen closely. This was just the beginning. Everything I've shared with you in this message was only the surface, a gentle knock on the door of your spirit, a crack in the shell of your past, a spark that lit the edge of something ancient and holy that's been sleeping inside of you for far too long. But what's coming next? It won't just spark something, it will ignite, it will not whisper, it will roar. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next video is the part that most people never say out loud. The part that chosen ones have carried in silence. The truth that almost no one talks about because it hurts too much to face. See, every chosen one, every soul marked by heaven, eventually reaches a moment of clarity that shatters everything they thought they knew. Not just about the world, but about themselves. It doesn't come through a sermon. It doesn't arrive with soft music playing in the background. It comes alone, in the dark, in the middle of another breakdown, or on the edge of giving up, or after praying for answers and hearing only silence. And that's where the truth appears. This truth, the one that's waiting for you in the next episode, is not beautiful at first glance. It's not easy. It doesn't make you shout. It makes you cry. It doesn't give you goosebumps. It opens wounds, wounds you thought had already healed, wounds you didn't even know you still carried. Because this truth exposes something terrifying and liberating at the same time. The reality that every chosen one is led at some point into isolation on purpose. You were not just left out. You were set apart. You were not just rejected. You were redirected. You were not abandoned. You were being aligned. And while that sounds poetic now, living through it didn't feel like poetry. It felt like being forgotten, like screaming with no voice, like watching your soul starve while everyone else feasted on connection and joy. In the next video, we're going to tear the veil off of that experience. We're going to say what others are too afraid to say. We're going to talk about the part of being chosen that no one prepares you for, the loneliness, the invisible burden, the inner war that never seems to stop. You're going to see yourself in every sentence. You're going to feel your story bleeding through the screen, and it's going to hurt. But it's going to heal, because the truth you're about to hear will validate why everything in your life had to happen the way it did. It will explain why you couldn't stay in the places everyone else seemed happy in, why your relationships collapsed when you were finally starting to feel safe, why no one ever really got you, why you've been misunderstood, even by those who claimed to love you most. And above all, it will explain why it had to be you, why you were chosen, why your journey was written in shadows before it could shine in light. So if what you've heard today has cracked something open in your chest, then you must not miss what's coming next. I'm warning you now, not to scare you, but to prepare you. Because this next message will not be comfortable. It's going to reveal things you've buried. It's going to dig into memories you stopped visiting. It's going to confront the deepest parts of your soul and call them into the light. This is not a casual watch. This is an encounter. This is God peeling back layers. This is the moment you've been unknowingly waiting for, maybe for years. So before this ends, I want to ask you, not out of obligation, but out of urgency, subscribe right now. Don't wait. Don't assume you'll remember later. You won't. The world will get noisy again. The distractions will come. The weight of life will try to pull you back to numbness. But if you move now, if you make the choice while your spirit is still soft, you'll be ready when the next truth drops. And it's coming soon. And I want you to say something in the comments. Not just for me, but for you. For the other people watching who are hurting in silence, just like you once were. Let's speak into the darkness together. Write this in the comments right now. I want the next video, or I need that truth. Type it out. Press send. Because someone reading those words needs permission to want the same. This is not the end. This is the warning before the storm. The kind of storm that doesn't destroy, but delivers. If something inside of you burned while you watched this, if you felt like God was speaking directly to your spirit, not just through words but in between the silence, then this is your sign to stay connected. Subscribe now. Don't think. Don't hesitate. If heaven reached for you in this video, it means there's more coming, and I don't want you to miss it. If you stayed until the end, I know it wasn't by accident. You were meant to hear every word. So go ahead, show you're still here. Drop a comment right now and type, "God is awakening me." Let your voice echo in this space. We read every comment, and someone out there needs to see your faith to spark their own. And if this message opened your eyes, your heart, or your memory, hit that like button. Not for the algorithm, but to leave a mark, to say, "I was here, I heard him, I'm answering," and don't leave yet. The next video is already on the screen. It's not just the next chapter, it's the one that's going to shake your soul to the core. Click on it now, and I'll meet you there.